Well, hello everyone. I'm Helene and so glad to be back finally with a new tutorial. It's been a little while since my last and I hope you all are doing really well. Today's tutorial is my Blue Moon crochet scarf. It's a fun and relaxing multi-stitch scarf consisting of two alternating patterns as panel A and panel B. Panel A is a 2-row repeat and B just a 1-row repeat with just enough changes between the two to keep you engaged while adding interest and texture to your work. They're easy and they work up fast, and either of these stitches could also be used by themselves as a standalone project. And either or makes a terrific stash buster and a nice stitch pattern for a blanket too. As you can tell, the stitches do show up better in a solid, but of course you can make this in whatever you like. You also get a nice clean edge on both ends that work equally well with or without fringe, or you could connect the two ends instead for an infinity scarf. These also make an especially lovely gift. How pretty would that be? Folded up nicely, put it in a lovely little gift box, maybe with someone's favorite tea, a couple of chocolates on top for an extra special presentation. And I have a written pattern for this already in my Etsy shop. The link for that is in the drop-down description section below, along with a timestamp for this tutorial here. I give you a lot of detailed information, including a couple of photos, tips, step-by-step along the way, with a link back to this tutorial. And I break this up into sections. I use a little bit larger print and separate the lines so it's easier to see, read, and follow along with the repeats in bold as well. You can work it in any weight type of yarn. If you live in a warmer weather climate, you can certainly work that in a lighter weight and even go up a few hook sizes. Now you could try alternating complementary colors for each panel or create your own gradient scarf using a range of shades within the same color family. Or you could make each panel a different color altogether for the fun and funky at heart. And as far as amount needed, I'm just going to basing this off a medium number 4 worsted type for average body height, size, and scarf length. I would go with 3 100-gram 3.5-ounce skeins. If you're a more petite person, then probably 2 might be enough. For a fuller length scarf that would go longer down low hip or beyond, and or if you're adding fringe, then go with 3 just to be safe. And what I used for the gray and black 2 skeins with 2 strands together of a light number 4, and that measured 6 inches wide by 66 inches long, which is 5 feet 6 inches, not including the fringe. And for the blue scarf, I used 2 1/4 hanks of a chunky weight, and that measures just a little bit wider at 6 1/4 inches by the same length, also not including fringe. Okay, so here we go. I am going to be working in a knit crate yarn I've had for a couple of years. This is a chunky weight. I'm going with a J 6mm hook, but do go up 1 hook size for the beginning chain, or if you just want to stick with the same hook size throughout, and just work your beginning chain a little bit more loosely. This pattern is worked in multiples of 3 plus 3 more to your desired width. Okay, you can make this as wide or as long as you like. So multiples of 3 is simply a number that is evenly divided by 3. So you work your chain 3, 3, 3, 3, 3 to your width, plus add 3 more chains on, and those 3 chains are 2 for the turning chain plus 1 more for the pattern itself. All right, and go ahead, make your slip knot as usual, however you do yours, and then go ahead, make the width of your chain. Again, I'm going just to do mine a little bit loosely in the multiples of 3. Now the scarves that I showed you, I worked 18 plus 3 more for my 21. We are going to begin with a half double crochet in the 1, 2, 3, third chain from the hook. I'm going to work into the back bumps to give a really nice full edge stitch at the beginning, which is great if you're placing fringe or just want the two ends to look as much the same as possible. So just roll your work over. That raised bump running right down the center is your third loop, half double crochet in that, and in each chain all the way across. So when you get to the end, you are going to have an odd number of stitches, and it will be 1 more stitch than your multiples of 3, not counting those 2 for the turning chain. And those first 2 skipped chains as your turning chain do not count as a stitch. And you're going to stay with that same number for the entire piece. Okay, so I made this pretty nice wide one here. All right, so that is row 1, our beginning setup row for panel A. Okay, and then now for row 2, this row 1 is the right side, now row 2 is going to be the wrong side, and this is another setup row, and we are going to just work a series of single crochet and chains. Super easy. Chain 1 and turn. Chain 1 does not count as a stitch, and place 1 single crochet in that very first beginning half double crochet. And when you chain 1 and turn, don't over tighten that, because we are working 2 different types of stitches for each panel, and the panel B is a little bit more full. This way it will help keep panel A nice and full so that your sides are more even as you go along. Alright, so beginning panel A, we've worked our first single crochet, now chain 2, and again keep those as full stitches. Skip the next 2, single crochet in the next half double crochet, and that is your repeat. Chain 2, skip the next 2 half double crochets, single crochet in the next. Repeat this all the way across to the end. Chain 2, skip 2, single crochet in the next. Okay, I will just go ahead, finish this with you, because remember, those first 2 chains at the end did not count as a stitch, so don't accidentally work in those. When you skip the next 2, well, you chain 2 first, of course, skip the next 2, your last single crochet will land in your very first half double crochet from the previous row. You see? All right, so that completes row 2. Now we are going to begin the first of our 2-row repeat for panel A with row 3. We are going to be back on the right side. So you will chain 3 as your first double crochet here and throughout. Turn your work and place a double crochet in that very first single crochet. So now this counts as 2 double crochets at the end. Now we are going to skip over those 2 chains, and into the single crochet we're going to create a simple shell by working 3 double crochets all into that same single crochet, and that is your repeat all the way across. You skip the 2 chains, place 3 double crochets into that next single crochet, and again repeat. You jump over to the next single crochet, and in each single crochet across, place 3 double crochets, and when you get to the end, you will skip the last 2 chains and work 2 double crochets in that last single crochet to mirror the 2 double crochets at the other end. Okay? Now for row 4, the second row of our 2-row repeat is that single crochet and chain row again. We're going to again begin the same, chain 1 and turn and place a single crochet in that first double crochet, and now we're going to skip the next 2 double crochets, and right in that center double crochet of the shell is where you're going to place your single crochet. So we will again chain 2, skip 2 double crochets, single crochet in that center double crochet. Woo, that's my doggy. Chain 2, skip the next 2 double crochets, single crochet in the center of your 3 double crochets that make up that shell, and that is your easy repeat across. Chain 2, nice full chains, single crochet in the center double crochet all the way across, and when you get to the end, and now that row works up so fast, make sure you chain 2 at the end, and then place your last single crochet in the top of your turning chain. So that would be the 1, 2, 3rd chain up. Go into the top loops, the front and the back loop of that chain, and place a single crochet, making it a nice full stitch. And now for your next repeat, you will repeat your shells again. So again, one more time, chain 3 and turn. 1 double crochet in that first single crochet, and for this row you're going to place 3 double crochets into each single crochet all the way across, with 2 double crochets in that very last single crochet. Alright, so you skip over the 2 chains, work 3 double crochets into the next single crochet, 3 double crochets into the next single crochet, and in each single crochet all the way across. And when you come to the end of your shell row with the set of 3 double crochets, then again you place 2 double crochets in that very last single crochet. And now to repeat row 4, the second of our 2-row repeat for panel A, chain 1 and turn, single crochet again in that same beginning stitch, chain 2, and single crochet in that center middle double crochet in your set of 3 of each shell, chain 2, single crochet in the center double, and at the end be sure you chain 2 again, place your last single crochet in the top of your turning chain, and make sure you go through the 2 loops of that chain at the top and not underneath, like I almost did. Alright, so those are your repeats. Your set of 3 double crochets for your shells will always be on the right side, and your single crochet and chain row will always be on the wrong side. That is very important. So you go ahead and you keep repeating these 2 rows over and over to your desired height of panel A, and keep track of those numbers, so that way if you want to work the same number for each alternating panel A, and then we're going to work panel B, then when you go back to A, if you want your rows to be the same, then you'll know how many that you've done. And if you have a stitch marker handy and would like to, you can just mark your very last row of panel A where you ended. Just pop a stitch marker in there somewhere, so then that lets you know, you can look back and just to be sure that you have done the same amount, and it just kind of separates between one panel and the next, gives you a little visual separation there. That is up to you. And you don't have to do the number of repeats the same for each panel. You can stagger them, can make them different, random. On one panel you can do 3, on the next you can do 5. Alright, so go ahead and repeat these 2 rows over and over to your desired height. I will meet you there and we will go on for panel B. And I am back with the height of the panel that I want to go, and I tell you, once you get your rhythm on this, it works up so quickly. And so I did 5 repeats, 5 of the shells, and then I ended on row 4, which is that single crochet and chain row, which sets us up for panel B. Very easy. Again, this is where you can place a stitch marker. I'm just going to put it in the last set of 3 double crochets. And also, if you have another stitch marker, want to mark your right side, you can do that also, so that way you be sure that you know that you've landed on the correct side when you switch from and alternate from panels A and B, so that way when you come back around to the other side of your body, when you finish up, you'll be facing the same right sides. Okay, so now for panel B. This is a set of clusters with the 1 row repeat. Alright, we're going to begin like we did our double crochet row below, chaining 3, which counts as your first double crochet here and throughout this stitch pattern as well. And you are going to again double crochet in that same single crochet. Now to begin the cluster, we're going to skip the first 2 chains like we have been, and yarn over, insert your hook into the next single crochet, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through the first 2, leave these 2 loops on your hook, and we're going to repeat that 2 more times. Yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop. You now have 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through the first 2. That leaves 3 loops. 1 more time, yarn over, back into that same single crochet, pull up a loop, and make sure when you pull up each time that loop is the height of all the other loops on your hook to that of a double crochet. Okay? Yarn over, pull through the first 2, 4 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 4. Now we're going to chain 1 and double crochet all into that same stitch. Okay, again, yarn over and into the next single crochet, create a cluster, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through the first two. Two more times, yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, pull through two. That leaves three on your hook. One more time, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through two, and now you have those four left. Yarn over, pull through all four, chain one, and double crochet. And repeat these stitches, your cluster, chain one, and double crochet into each single crochet across. And when you get to the very last single crochet, as we've done all along, you will place two double crochets in the end. Okay, you ready? Let's do that again. Yarn over, insert your hook into the single crochet, pull up a loop, pull through two, just as you begin a regular double crochet, except you don't pull through the last two. That's all you're doing. Yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, and again yarn over, pull through two. One more time, and yarn over, pull through all four, chain one, and double crochet. Okay, and in that last single crochet, there we are, two double crochets. And then now we're going to be working into the chain one spaces across, and that will be a repeat back and forth. All right, so again, chain three on this one and turn. Work that double crochet back into the same beginning double crochet, and you're going to skip the next two double crochets, which takes you to the chain one space, and this is where you are going to work your cluster. It's a three double crochet cluster, chain one, and one double crochet all in to that chain one space. And again, skipping over to the next chain one space, work one cluster, chain one, and a double crochet, and repeat that into each chain one space across. And again, as we've done, work two double crochets now into the top of your turning chain, the third chain up at the end. Okay, and now I'm at the end with two double crochets into the top of the last stitch, that turning chain. There we go. And that is your one row repeat, and you continue working this row over and over again. And on panel B, you need to be sure and end on the right side of your work, the right side of your work. And you can work that to the same height, if you like, as panel A, or you can do more or you can do less. That is up to you. Now, because panel A is a 2-row repeat, you will need more rows of panel B to equal the same height. So what I did is I worked 7 rows of the clusters for every 5 rows of shells, and that worked out to about the same height, so that I would have mine the same going all the way around. That is entirely up to you. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and work my height of the cluster stitches, and then I will meet you back and show you how we will start up again for repeating panel A. You can take your stitch marker, put that on the right side at the top of where you finished your last panel, so that way you know you're on the right side of your work and where you ended that panel, and then you can move the stitch marker up as you go for your next panel. Okay, well, I am going to finish up my rows on panel B, and I will see you back in just a few minutes. Okay, here I've worked up my 7 rows of panel B with the cluster rows. I did the 7. I'm going to show you how to get started for panel A again. Very, very easy, but I wanted to pull back the camera just a little so you can see how this is working up. And it's a slight difference in the two patterns and texture, but I think they go together quite well. So you have some that is thicker and more textural, and then some that's a little more airy and lacy, if you will. Alright, so I'm going to show you this row, then I'm going to work up some more of mine and go feed the dogs. Alright, so you ready? All we're going to do now is just repeat that single crochet and chain row that we worked of panel 1. And we are going to be working in the ends like we did before and placing our single crochets this time to set us up for going back to panel A. We're going to work those in the chain 1 spaces of every cluster. Alright, so chain 1 and turn just as we have been doing, and again single crochet in that same beginning stitch, which is your double crochet. Now we're going to chain 2, and as always keep those nice full stitches. Skip the next 2 double crochets, and in that chain 1 space place 1 single crochet. You're going to chain 2 again, jump over to the next chain 1 space and single crochet. So you will chain 2 and single crochet in every chain 1 space across. Alright, chain 2, and again you are still skipping 2 stitches. Your cluster and the stitch belonging to that cluster is the elongated stitch right at the top. So you skip the cluster and the next double crochet, which takes you into the next chain 1 space where you will single crochet. You just repeat this all the way across. That's setting us up to work back again to panel A. And when you come to the end and you've placed your last single crochet in the last chain 1 space, then you just jump on over, skipping your last 2, takes you to the top of your turning chain. So place your single crochet like you did before in the top of your chain 3. And now you're right back into pattern. You will chain 3 and turn, and now you will be on the right side again, and you will be working row 3 of the 2-row repeat for the shells with a double crochet into that same beginning single crochet and 3 double crochets in every single crochet all the way across. And again, as a reminder, I have that detailed timestamp reference guide listed in the drop-down description section that you can refer to at any time you like of what sequence is where, and of course you can rewind at any point too to rewatch what you need. Alright, and here I am at the end already with my last 3 double crochets, and then in the very last single crochet, just as we did before in panel A, we'll place 2 double crochets there, and then you will just repeat. That's row 3, and then row 4 on the wrong side of the work is the chain 1 and turn, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in the center of the 3 double crochets. That's your repeat for row 4, the 2-row repeat of panel A. And then when you have worked however many stitches, or rows that you like, just make sure that you have ended on row 4 of panel A, which is the wrong side of your work, and then you will begin again with the sequence of your clusters. So now I'm going to move my stitch marker up as mentioned on the right side of my work and mark where I ended my last set of clusters. Lets me know where my last set of the previous panel B was. Okay, and then I know that I have worked 5 rows of the set of 3 double crochets, so I can just visually go back to the stitch marker and count up from there. Alright, and then when I have finished again another set of the same repeats for panel A, then I will end on the wrong side with row 4, that single crochet and chain 2 row. And then again, just recapping here, then you start working your clusters. You start with your 2 double crochets, then you work your cluster, chain 1 double crochet in each single crochet across, 2 clusters at the end, chain 3, turn your work, and with the 2 double crochets at each end, then you will be working your sequence of your cluster, chain 1 double crochet in every chain 1 space across, just as we've done. And when you get to the end of your panel of row B, remember to add back in row 4 our single crochet and chain row to restart panel A. And then you just alternate these rows back and forth over and over again until you have come to your desired length. And now if you are, there are a few ways that you can do this. For example, if you're just working a scarf, you can then end it on panel A with the shells, the set of 3 double crochets, and then I will show you when I get to that point how I work the last finishing edge of that, which is just what we did here with the finishing edge at the end of panel A. If you want both ends to be this, okay. Now if you want both ends, both sides at the ends to look the same, with having, say, panel A, your set of shells, the 3 double crochets, then that's what you will work for your last section, and then again finish on the wrong side with the single crochet and chain row, and I'll show you how we then add in the half double crochet row like we did at the beginning, so it will most resemble the work at the beginning to the end as well. And this also gives you a really good edge where you can place fringe, and I'll let you know my recommended placement for that. Or if you want to just go a little bit different and kind of fun and funky, you may certainly end on panel B with the more textured side of the clusters. You can end on panel B, and then you can put in that last single crochet and chain row, so you will be, once you finish on the right side of your work for panel B with the last row of clusters, then add in on the wrong side the single crochet and chain row again, and then that's going to set you up in the same way to add in the last finishing row, half double crochets, whether you end on panel A or panel B. That's up to you. And if you are working an infinity scarf, then you would for sure end on panel B. You began on panel A, you will end on panel B, so that way when you connect the two ends you will have the alternating panels. And once you have finished panel B for your infinity scarf, then still add back in that single crochet and chain row, and then right side in, bring your wrong sides together, and then hand sew your work and match up each stitch for stitch all the way along the edge, and then that way you will have, now I'm coming back to the right side so you can see, you will still have that beginning half double crochet, which is a little bit of a seam, but not much. Then you still have it just kind of blends right in to the single crochet chain row and then back into your pattern. So without having sewn them together and just laying them together, you can see that blends really quite nicely, and that can be the section that you put at the back of your neck and you're twisting it over anyway. If you want to solid ends rather than attaching with one side with the beginning half double and the other side with the single crochet and chain row, you can do that as well. You can add that last half double and then on the wrong side, the inside, then sew the two ends together stitch for stitch, and you can place that stitch marker to mark your very beginning half double that you did so you don't accidentally work into those two skipped chains, and then go through your stitches with whichever method that you prefer to sew those together. Okay, well, I am going to go ahead and keep working mine and show you how that I just easily finish up that edge. Well, I am back and I finished the entire length of my scarf. It's a nice long one. So I ended with panel A, finished up with the last single crochet and chain row, ended on the wrong side of the work, ended right here. So that way when we turn and work our last half double crochet, then we'll be on the right side of the work so it matches the other side of the scarf. All right, so here we go now. Just so easy to finish this up. Chain one and turn. Chain one does not count as a stitch. Half double crochet into that very beginning single crochet, and now we're going to work one half double crochet into each of the next two chains and then into the single crochet. So do not work around them, okay, because that's going to create a big gap in the work. We want this to most resemble the other side. We're going to go through the two top loops of that chain, the front and the back loop, okay, and it just takes a little bit of time. It's not a great width, you know, and it just comes out so much nicer. And then half double crochet in the single crochet, and that's what you will repeat all the way across. Place one half double crochet in each of the next two chains, one and two, and in the single crochet. So just finish that all the way across. Half double crochet in every stitch. Make sure you get the last two chains and that last single crochet. One stitch for every stitch across. Now I just panned out a little bit so you can see the two ends. This is the very beginning end, and this is where we just finished. Go ahead and you can fasten off. If you are adding fringe, count your stitches all the way across from your beginning, your very first one, and remember those first chain twos did not count as a stitch. That was just to make that initial curve when you half double crocheted into that third chain to keep that end work from tugging in. So here is the very first stitch. I'm going to place a stitch marker there just to give me a little visual. My suggested placement for fringe is place however many strands in each of the end stitches and then in every third stitch across. So you will skip the next two, place fringe in your next, skip two, place fringe in your next, and that follows the pattern we just worked, and your fringe will be evenly spaced apart. So you do that all the way across, fringe, skip 2, fringe in the very last, and then you do the same for the other side. Or if you like your fringe to be more fuller, you can place it in every other stitch. So one in each end, skip 1, your strands of fringe in the next. Every other stitch all the way across. Now you can just decide how you like to do yours. So this one I wound up doing in every other, and this one I did every third. So in each end I skipped 2, placed fringe, skipped 2, placed fringe, which again lines up in the center of the shells in the rows above. Okay, so I just wanted to show you the two different looks and how well that works out for either or. And if you find that you would like to or need to square up the edges of panel A to panel B, you can take a spray bottle, little water, mist it, dampen it, smooth those edges out of panel A to equal the width of panel B, lay flat, let it dry, or if you want to take it a step farther with a steam iron, holding it above your work, giving it a gentle mist to relax those fibers, you can do that too. I misted the blue scarf only and just took me about 5 minutes. Okay, my fiber friends, that is it for today's tutorial. Thank you so much, as always, for being here. I really do appreciate you all so very much. I hope you had fun, enjoyed this tutorial, and will come back again next time. Until then, take care, and I will see you again soon.